the world begins with a clean slate. Every morning, dew washes over the earth, as if washing away the blood of yesterday's battles. We are accustomed to thinking that this light is ours, that the sun rises only to illuminate the triumph of Rome. I write home, but I don't know if my words will reach them. Rumors spread faster than legions. They say that Rome no longer believes in Jupiter. They say that palaces built to last for centuries are cracking under the weight of their own gold. Greatness has become a burden. We stand here, on the edge of the Alchemy, guarding the borders of an empire that is slowly turning into a ghost. Our fires are dying out. The old gods are gone, and the new ones have not yet taught us how to defeat death. Rome did not fall in a single day. It simply ceased to be a dream. Are you ready to see eternity die? Do you remember that smell? Everyone has their own, but mine smells like Rome. It was a strange, vivid mixture, the scent of freshly cut hay on my father's estate, the tart bitterness of olive oil spilled on sun-warmed marble, and the dry, ubiquitous dust of Italian roads that clogged my sandals and settled in a thin layer on the grape leaves. Here, at the edge of the world, where the sky is almost always leaden and the wind smells of cold sea salt and strange, hostile forests, I often close my eyes and try to recapture that air. The smell of my childhood. Of a world that now exists only in my dreams and at the tip of this stylus. I write these lines on a wax tablet, and it seems as if the wax itself smells of the warmth of distant Italy. I remember Rome as noisy and endless. The morning began not with alarm clocks, but with the crowing of roosters and the ringing laughter of neighbors. The sun did not just shine then, it caressed every stone, turning ordinary streets into golden rivers. We children were the masters of this universe. Our greatest crime was running away to the forum to listen to the speeches of the orators. We didn't understand a word, but we watched their gestures spellbound. The ordinary courtyard of our villa seemed like the whole world to us. There, in the coolness of the atrium, my mother taught me to distinguish between herbs, and my father, strong, with hands that smelled of earth, showed me how to care for vines. We lived in a world where the future always promised to be sunny. We didn't know that everything would soon change forever, but those moments became our shared cultural code. And now, 30 years later, I understand, that was our eternity. Rome was not just a pile of stones. It was a living creature. In my youth, I wandered through its arteries for hours, absorbing every sound. I remember how Saturday smelled, the aroma of roasted meat from cheap eateries mixed with the scent of expensive incense wafting from the doors of temples. The insulae, our tall apartment buildings, lived their own special, cramped lives. It was a time when the field of miracles of our time was gladiatorial combat, which every family discussed over dinner. I remember how we shouted across narrow courtyards. The neighbor upstairs was always complaining about noisy children, and the sound of a flute came from below. An old musician lived there. We lived side by side, the rich in their patios and the poor in cramped rooms under the roof, but the sky above us was the same. We gathered in the baths, and that was our social media. We discussed politicians, new laws, and dreamed of heroic deeds. In the evenings, when the sun set behind the hills, painting the Tiber in an incredible purple, the city fell silent. Torches were lit, and Rome became mysterious. We believed in its immutability. It seemed that these walls had always stood and would stand forever. We did not realize that this golden age was only a brief flash before a long journey. We were sure that our court would never disappear, that we could always return to our mother's hearth. How sweet that illusion was. But the empire is not just feasts and marble. It is duty. The call of the horn once drowned out the laughter of my friends. I remember that day, my mother cried, hiding her face in the folds of the table, and my father just shook my hand. His palm was rough. That was the last thing I remember of the warmth of home. My life turned into an endless march. The dust of Rome was replaced by the mud of Gaul and the sticky snow of Germany. We became part of a huge mechanism. Instead of the aroma of wine, there was the smell of sweat, cheap vinegar, and the raw leather of armor. My hands, which once picked grapes, were now accustomed to the weight of a gladius. We marched forward, carrying the light of Rome, but the further we went, the more darkness and cold crept into our souls. You know what's strange? In war, you don't remember the great battles. You remember the little things. How the dew glistened on the grass that morning when you left home. How the door to your room creaked. We left in search of glory and gold, not knowing that the most precious treasure was the simple right to wake up in your own bed. Here, in a tent blown by all the winds, I take out my wax tablet. It's my only way to rewind time. Like a cassette tape on a pencil, I replay those days in my head, trying not to miss a single detail. Every scar on my body is a story of separation from the boy I once was. I remember Rome as noisy and endless. The morning began not with alarm clocks, but with the crowing of roosters and the ringing laughter of neighbors. The sun did not just shine then, it caressed every stone, turning ordinary streets into golden rivers. We children were the masters of this universe. Our greatest crime was running away to the forum to listen to the speeches of the orators. We didn't understand a word, but we watched their gestures spellbound. The ordinary courtyard of our villa seemed like the whole world to us. There, in the coolness of the atrium, my mother taught me to distinguish between herbs, and my father, strong, with hands that smelled of earth, showed me how to care for vines. We lived in a world where the future always promised to be sunny. We didn't know that everything would soon change forever, but those moments became our shared cultural code. And now, 30 years later, I understand, that was our eternity. A vibrant city. Rome was not white. Statues and temples were painted in bright colors, hiding the cold stone under layers of ochre and azure. The fighters' diet. Gladiators were barley men. They ate almost no meat, the layer of fat from porridge protected their organs from deep wounds. Purple blood. The dye from mollusks cost a fortune. Only the emperor could wear it, for others, this color was a death sentence. Shared comfort. In the toilets, we sat shoulder to shoulder, discussing decrees. One sponge on a stick for everyone, that's how unity was born. Tax on urine. Vespasian was right, money doesn't smell. Urine was collected for bleaching togas and tanning leather. Eternal concrete. Our secret is seawater and volcanic ash. Our concrete grows stronger with age, while modern concrete crumbles to dust. Left shadow. The word left meant evil. Left-handed people were forcibly retrained so as not to anger the gods in the ranks. Medicine from death. The blood of fallen gladiators was drunk as a cure for epilepsy. It was believed that their strength was transferred to the sick. Feasting during the plague. While the borders were burning, the patricians ate flamingo tongues. Rome's stomach became its downfall.